So we're going to talk Augustine and Scholasticism. So in the overview video for the week, I mentioned that you don't need to know the names and you don't need to regurgitate dates. Still true. That is still really important. The notes that I'm having you take and the notes I'm having you looked at are really about helping you notice and track what changes are happening. So this really starts with Augustine. So I know we started with an overview of the Middle Ages, which is a long time period, and we can put Augustine kind of pre-Middle Ages, and then a lot of these figures are throughout the Middle Ages at various timestamps, but they're all connected in very important ways. I'm not positive that the book made the connection as clear as it could have, and so that's what we're going to do here. What we see with Augustine, and so I have you actually look at his text and then identify some of the rhetorical moves that he makes. Augustine and his history are really, really important to understanding the shift that we're seeing in rhetoric here. So Augustine had a mom who was Christian and a dad who was not. And he, for a long time, like well into his, I believe it was 30s, it's in the book, he rejected becoming Christian, he rejected all of that, and then he has this epic conversion story. It wasn't easily accessible and it was really buried in the text. It would have been really difficult to pull it out, so we're starting with the top of the conversion text to get to it, but he has this, I mean, it's lengthy. You know, if you click on the links that are in the book to get you to the conversion story, it is pages and pages and pages long. What's really important about it is once he converts to Christianity, he brings everything that he did as a lawyer and a scholar in rhetorical theory with him to Christianity. And what he then starts focusing on, because he's now converted, is that one of the fundamental goals, especially early with Christianity, was to convert people, was to show, like, here's the religion that we're believing in, and here's the belief system that we want you to have, and here's what's happening. And Augustine finds a really solid background for that in rhetorical theory. But he starts looking at and defining audiences differently. And so we have, and again, the book doesn't go into a lot of detail on this, and so this is just a broad overview to kind of help you see and then make connections with scholasticism. Augustine breaks down his audience into 4 groups. You've got people who are converted and have money, people who are converted and don't have money, people who are educated and convertible, so they're a group that we think that we can convert to Christianity, kind of like middle class, working class, and then we have basically the unwashed masses. And he did not have a strong opinion about, or a positive opinion about, the unwashed masses. And so he thought that each of these 4 audiences, when we were inventing, so again, we're still using all of our understanding of rhetoric to put together how we're going to persuade somebody, he looked at the audiences differently and said, I should probably change my rhetorical approach, and then I should teach others, especially or specifically others within the church, to divide audiences in these ways. So then what you see, and this is where scholasticism comes in, the figures that we're going through here and that we're really focusing on, so Boethius and Hugh of St. Victor and Abelard and Aquinas and Bacon, they start from that same belief of Augustine, where there are different audiences that need different approaches. And so part of their goal with developing rhetorical theory is to argue on behalf of or against the use of common everyday language as being accessible to rhetoric, or as even being worthwhile. So we want to remember, when we've got society, we've got social classes, and we still see this today, we have different language use and different approaches to making arguments and to putting together ideas based on our social class. And there's one, or the upper class one, is typically viewed as the direction that we're supposed to head and the kind of like speech that we're supposed to use. So I think as Americans, it stands out to us more when we hear it, when we hear British accents. There are British accents that are, you know, like this upper class. And so for anybody who's seen, the soccer show, Jamie Tartt's character, he takes on a very specific, you know, what is kind of understood as a lower class British accent. And the accents stand out to us as viewers because it does work for, like, what is it that we're dealing with the social comings together of all of these different groups. And then when Jamie Tartt goes through stuff with his family, why is he experiencing that, and how are we supposed to understand it, and how are we supposed to build, like, his viewers' empathy for it? the accent. Like the language he uses and the ways he's saying those words are doing a lot for it. That's not what the actor sounds like in real life. And that's the big difference. And so I know I'm using kind of an extreme pop culture example here, but what all of these theorists are looking at and arguing for, and this is the first time in history that we're looking at, hey, different social classes have different language for different purposes. Which ones are right? That idea starts here. And that idea still exists almost 2,000 years later. Woo! Go humans, right? But that's what connects all of these figures together. So it's not that you need to memorize the names and the dates. I want you to really look at and pay attention and think about, with the questions and the notes that you're taking, where does the idea of language and audience really come out in the notes and the readings that you're doing in the book for this particular section? If you have any questions, send me an email or come to office hours. Otherwise, I'll see you online.